911 call reports a child submerged in a freezing lake. He has been underwater for more than 3 minutes. Firefighters arrive to find a father paralyzed by panic. Lieutenant Kelly dons his diving gear and descends into the murky depths. Visibility is 0. He relies entirely on a safety line and a series of rope signals. On the surface, the team waits in silence. Suddenly, 3 sharp tugs vibrate through the rope. Kelly emerges, clutching the limp body of the boy. The child is blue, cold, and showing no signs of life. Rescuers secure the boy into a Stokes basket and rush him to the waiting ambulance. Inside, the space is cramped and chaotic. Gabriella prepares a dose of epinephrine while the vehicle swerves through traffic. She performs rhythmic chest compressions, her face set in a grim mask. The heart monitor emits a steady, high-pitched drone, a flatline. Seconds turn into minutes. The team ignores the odds, pushing air into the boy's lungs, drugs into his veins. Just as hope begins to fade, a single blip breaks the silence. Then, another. A pulse returns. The boy is back from the brink. At the hospital, doctors confirm the child is stable. Outside the trauma room, the father stands shattered. He confesses to Kelly that he watched his son sink and could not move. He froze. Kelly looks him in the eye and delivers a hard truth. The water was lethal. If the father had jumped in, the team would be recovering 2 bodies instead of saving 1. The boy is alive, and the father is finally released from his own mental prison. Paramedic Shay treats a homeless man in the back of a moving ambulance. As she reaches for a syringe, the patient flinches violently. The needle pierces through Shay's glove and deep into her thumb. She pulls her hand back and watches a drop of blood form on the latex. At the hospital, the doctor states the facts. The patient refuses to consent to a blood draw. Without his blood sample, the medical team cannot determine if Shay has been exposed to HIV or hepatitis. Shay begins a grueling regimen of antiviral medication. The doctor warns her that the side effects will be severe and a definitive test result is 3 months away. This medical crisis triggers a legal disaster. Shay is currently fighting for custody of her partner Clarice's child. A lawyer weaponizes the incident, arguing that Shay's high-risk profession and potential exposure to terminal illness make her an unfit guardian. The pressure mounts as Shay waits for the drugs to clear her system. Eventually, the patient relents and allows the test. The results come back negative. Shay is physically safe. However, the legal damage is irreversible. Clarice arrives at the house to deliver the final blow. To end the relentless litigation and keep her child, she has accepted a settlement from her ex-husband. She is moving to New York tonight. Shay stands in the hallway as Clarice walks out the door. The needle did not infect her, but the legal battle has stripped her of her family. She is left alone in an empty apartment. Firefighter Joe Cruz ignores every safety protocol as he runs into a burning building. He is not looking for survivors, he is looking for a way out of his own life. His recklessness causes an explosion that knocks his team back. Mouch, a veteran firefighter, takes the brunt of the fire and suffers second-degree burns. This is the 3rd time Cruz has put his colleagues in the hospital. Lieutenant Casey sees the pattern and investigates the source of the trauma. He discovers that Cruz intentionally let a gang leader named Flacco die in a previous fire. The guilt of that decision has turned Cruz into a liability. Casey corners Cruz in the quiet of the firehouse. He delivers a factual ultimatum: hand in the badge by the next shift or face a murder investigation. Casey refuses to let one man's death wish kill the rest of the squad. Cruz retreats to the locker room, broken and waiting for the end of his career. He is prepared for the police to arrive. Instead, Mouch finds him. Mouch is covered in bandages because of Cruz's actions, yet he sits down beside him. He does not offer a lecture or a threat. He offers forgiveness. He tells Cruz that the debt is settled. The lieutenant's threat remains, but Mouch's silence gives Cruz a reason to keep breathing. He begins the long, silent process of rebuilding his mind among the men he almost killed. The rescue team arrives at a Chicago apartment building. A man has killed himself in his car, but the police discover he left a trap behind. The air around the structure smells of gasoline. The bomb squad deploys a masked camera, extending the high-angle lens to the apartment window. The monitor confirms the interior is heavily wired. A woman lies motionless on the floor. Severide leads his squad to the apartment directly above the target. They use power saws to cut a hole through the floorboards, bypassing the rigged front door. They drop into a room saturated with fuel. The carpet is wet with gasoline. A bomb technician identifies multiple tripwires snaking under the furniture. Beneath a pile of blankets, they find 5 pounds of mixed ammonium nitrate connected to an incendiary device. It is a fertilizer bomb designed to level the floor. The woman on the floor has been stabbed in the abdomen, her pulse is fading, she is bleeding internally, and cannot wait for the technician to disarm the complex network of triggers. The team must move her without shifting the knife or touching a single wire. Severide packs the wound with gauze to stabilize the blade. They lift her with calculated precision, navigating the maze of red leads. The bomb squad clears the primary exit just as the victim's condition turns critical. Firefighters carry her through the doorway and into the street. They reach the waiting ambulance and transition her to the paramedics. The trap is neutralized, and the team clears the blast zone. A car crash leaves the intersection in chaos. Firefighter Peter Mills spots a trail of blood leading away from the wreckage. He follows it to the edge of a nearby bridge. A man stands on the railing, looking down at the water. This is the driver responsible for the accident. He is paralyzed by the belief that he has killed a person. Mills approaches. He does not wait for a professional negotiator. Every second the driver stares at the drop, the risk of a jump increases. The driver describes the scene back at the car. He saw the victim crushed and went into shock. He believes there is no way back from what he has done. Behind Mills, the rescue squad works on the mangled vehicle. They use heavy spreaders to pry open the steel. Mills makes a tactical decision. He looks the driver in the eye and tells him the victim is alive. He claims the person is alert, stable, and moving. This is a lie. Mills knows the facts are irrelevant if the man jumps. The driver hesitates. The pressure of the perceived death begins to lift. Mills maintains the deception, providing specific, fake details about the victim's condition to ground the man in this new reality. The driver processes the information and wavers. The move works. The driver steps back from the ledge, Mills reaches out and pulls him onto the pavement. The rescue is complete. Mills saves a life by manipulating the truth, proving that tactical misdirection is sometimes the only tool left. Benny Severide returns to Station 51, and Chief Bowden's reaction is immediate and rigid. The tension between the two men is visible but unexplained. Peter Mills begins searching through the Academy's archives and finds a file from the night his father died 20 years ago. He sees Chief Bowden's name listed as a primary witness. Peter realizes his commander has intentionally withheld this information for his entire career. The silence feels like a calculated lie. The conflict reaches a breaking point at the annual Academy dinner. In a secluded area of the venue, Benny confronts Bowden. He tells Bowden to stop playing the role of the grieving saint. Benny is finished with the official narrative. He reveals the fact that Bowden had an affair with Peter's mother while they were all serving together. On the night of the fatal fire, Peter's father knew about the betrayal. He wasn't just fighting a fire. He was trying to prove his worth to the man who had compromised his marriage. Peter's father took fatal, unnecessary risks that night to outshine Bowden. He died in the smoke because his judgment was clouded by a personal grudge. Peter stands in the shadows, listening as the image of his father as a selfless martyr vanishes. The hero he worshipped is replaced by a man who threw his life away over a domestic scandal. Bowden stands silent, unable to deny the truth. The legacy of a fallen hero is replaced by the weight of a 20-year-old betrayal. Firefighters use heavy tools to force open a discarded safe in the back of a newly purchased bar. Inside, they find a small wooden box containing a Silver Star medal and a stack of yellowed documents. One paper is a handwritten contract. It reveals that a man named Clifford Baylor owns a 50% stake in the property. The team realizes they have a legal complication. They track Baylor to a local nursing home to return the medal and address the ownership claim. They find an elderly man sitting in a common room. When they present the box, Baylor recognizes the medal immediately. The firefighters explain they bought the bar from a man named Spiro and offer to settle any outstanding debt regarding his half of the business. Baylor looks at the contract and tells them there is nothing to settle. Decades ago, Spiro gave him an ultimatum: take the bar or take the girl. Baylor chose the girl. He explains that Spiro kept the building while Baylor kept Molly. They remained married for 40 years. To him, the trade was the best deal of his life. The firefighters realize the true value of the legacy they inherited. They bring the veteran back to the corner of the street. As Baylor watches from his wheelchair, they reveal the new sign above the door. It reads, Molly's. The business is no longer just a building, it is a tribute to the woman Baylor chose over a fortune. He stares at the name, the debt of the past finally cleared through an act of recognition. Shay and Kelly sit down to finalize their plan for a clinical pregnancy. Shay details the medical requirements: 12 consecutive days of hormone injections, followed by a procedure at a private facility. The momentum stops when she reveals the total cost: $10,000. As firefighters, neither possesses the cash to bridge the gap. The financial barrier forces them to reconsider the entire arrangement. Shay returns to Kelly with a calculated Plan B. She outlines a strict protocol for natural conception, stripping the act of any intimacy. The terms are absolute. The room must be pitch black. Kelly will signal his readiness by saying her name exactly once. Shay will enter, they will complete the task with maximum efficiency, and she will leave immediately. There will be no talking, no eye contact, and no mention of the encounter for the rest of their lives. She frames the act as a necessary transaction, acknowledging the emotional toll by stating she will likely cry in private afterward. The pressure of this clinical contract hangs over them until Kelly's father intervenes. He calls to announce he will fund the $10,000 medical bill to ensure he becomes a grandfather. The relief is immediate. The awkwardness of the Plan B agreement is discarded. They revert to the professional environment of the clinic, choosing the sterile certainty of science over the heavy silence of their private pact. A gang opens fire on Firehouse 51 inches broad daylight. Bullets shatter the glass doors, forcing the crew to scramble for cover under trucks and tables. The attack is a direct provocation. Shortly after, the situation worsens when a criminal hijacks an ambulance with a paramedic still inside. The hijacker believes he has escaped, but the fire department activates the vehicle's GPS. They track the ambulance's real-time movement through city streets and relay the coordinates to the police. The vehicle is cornered, and the police neutralize the threat. Lieutenant Casey decides to move beyond defense. He walks into the gang's territory alone and enters their headquarters. He does not bring a gun, he brings a technical threat. Casey confronts the gang leader and reveals he has identified their storage method. The gang is hiding their drug supply inside the city's fire hydrants. Casey states a factual reality of fire department protocol. Firefighters are legally authorized to flush hydrants twice a year to maintain water pressure. He gives the gang a choice. If they continue to harass the station, Casey will order an immediate, unscheduled flushing of every hydrant in the neighborhood. Thousands of dollars in narcotics will be destroyed and washed into the sewers in minutes. He is not using violence. He is using his professional authority to bankrupt their entire operation. Casey delivers the warning and exits, leaving the gang to realize that the fire department can dismantle their business without firing a single shot. Firefighters arrive at a residential building to find a 9-year-old boy wedged inside a narrow laundry chute. He is unconscious and has stopped breathing. The team locates his position behind a brick wall on the floor below. They deploy power saws and heavy drills, cutting through concrete as dust fills the hallway. They breach the masonry and pull the boy's limp body from the metal shaft. Paramedics begin immediate resuscitation and rush him to the emergency room. Later, at the firehouse, a newspaper headline confirms the boy died from his injuries. The crew recognizes his face. He had visited their station on a school field trip, telling his mother he wanted to be a firefighter when he grew up. The rescue was successful, but the oxygen deprivation was fatal. On the day of the funeral, heavy snow falls. Fire trucks line the route with their ladders extended to hang a massive flag over the road. Dozens of firefighters stand in formation, wearing formal dress uniforms. As the gray hearse moves slowly past the station, a command is barked. Every officer snaps a crisp salute. Inside the car, the mother looks out the window, seeing her son recognized as a member of the department. The small coffin passes under the flag. They give the child the highest professional honors, treating him not as a victim, but as a fallen hero who earned his place among them. Hank Voit sits in a prison cell until a guard signals his release. He walks out of the gates as a free man. News reaches Firehouse 51 immediately. The firefighters stop their work as the realization sinks in. Antonio Dawson corners Lieutenant Casey in a quiet hallway. He delivers a blunt warning: stay away from Voit. The legal system is folding and Voit is already moving. Voit does not hide. He files a lawsuit against the department for wrongful prosecution, demanding a settlement and his career back. He meets Antonio on a busy street corner. He does not use a weapon. Instead, he mentions Antonio's sister and an upcoming ethics panel. He speaks with a calm, level voice that implies total control. The tension peaks at Molly's pub. The firefighters and police officers are gathered when Voit walks through the door. He is not wearing a prison uniform, he is in a suit. He places a stack of cash on the bar and buys a round for everyone. He stands inches from Antonio and reveals the fact. He has been promoted to sergeant. He is now the head of the intelligence unit. Voit turns to Casey. He offers a handshake and a verbal apology for the past conflict. He mentions that his son needed to hit rock bottom in prison to learn a lesson. The words are polite, but the eye contact establishes his new authority. Voit walks out, leaving the room in absolute silence. He was a convict yesterday. He is their superior today. A chemical tanker flips on its side, trapping the driver in a crushed cabin. Green liquid pools around the wreckage. It is sodium hydroxide, a highly corrosive base. A diesel fire ignites nearby, sending thick smoke into the air. Commander Bowden orders the team to hold the water. Using hoses will only react with the chemical and spread the toxic spill further. The rescue must be dry and fast. Firefighters move into the hot zone. They use a Halligan to pry the mangled door and a Sawzall to cut through the reinforced steel pillars. Inside, the driver is unconscious, breathing in chemical fumes. The foam truck is delayed, and the heat from the diesel fire begins to warp the tanker's outer shell. The risk of a massive chemical explosion increases with every second. The ground is saturated with corrosive liquid, making a standard exit impossible. The team switches to a vertical rescue. They rig a descender to the aerial ladder, establishing a pulley system to hoist the victim directly upward. Rescuers in heavy gear scale the ladder and breach the windshield. They secure the unconscious driver into a rescue harness. On the commander's signal, the team hauls the line. The driver is pulled vertically out of the wreckage, clearing the burning cabin just as the flames reach the main tank. They swing the ladder away from the spill zone and lower the victim onto a waiting stretcher. The paramedics take over as the firefighters retreat. The rescue is finished moments before the fire consumes the entire vehicle. Lieutenant Severide sits before a formal investigation board to face a subordinate's accusation of sexual assault. Tara Little presents an ultimatum, an Alfred plea. If Severide apologizes on the record, she will drop the charges. Severide refuses. He states he asked her to leave his apartment because she seemed desperate. He chooses to protect his reputation rather than accept a convenient compromise. The retaliation is immediate and systematic. Tara receives a promotion to a high-level administrative position, gaining political leverage. Simultaneously, Chief Rodkowski, the father of Severide's former partner, provides a false statement to investigators. He fabricates a history of predatory behavior, using old personal grievances to validate Tara's claims. This orchestrated testimony shifts the power balance. Internal Affairs decides they cannot disprove the allegations. They escalate the matter, transferring the case to the state's attorney's office. Severide is no longer facing a workplace disciplinary hearing. He is facing a criminal prosecution. The trap closes as his superiors again suggest he apologize to avoid prison. Severide retreats to the station bathroom, the weight of the frame-up finally breaking his composure. He realizes his professional record is being dismantled by a coordinated purge. He is a decorated officer being erased by the people he once trusted. He stands alone, realizing that in a system fueled by false testimony and political ambition, the truth is no longer a valid defense. A tanker truck leaks hydrochloric acid onto a busy Chicago street. The green chemical corrodes the pavement and flows toward the city's sewer system. Captain Casey establishes a hot zone and issues a clear order. No one enters the perimeter without full protective gear and an SCBA breathing apparatus. Candidate Dawson spots a dump truck filled with sand nearby. She realizes the sand can neutralize the acid before it reaches the drains. Without authorization, she breaks the perimeter. She runs into the toxic fumes without a mask or air tank. She climbs into the cab and drives the truck directly into the spill area. Dawson releases the sand, successfully blocking the chemical flow. The immediate threat is contained, but the professional fallout begins instantly. A superior officer notices Dawson's lack of gear, forcing Casey to witness his subordinate's blatant insubordination in front of high-ranking officials. Back at the station, the victory feels like a defeat. Casey corners Dawson in the briefing room. He rejects her excuse of acting on instinct. He reminds her that she is part of a unit, not a solo operator. Her cowboy stunt put her life at risk and humiliated her captain. Casey delivers a final ultimatum. The fire department runs on a chain of command, not personal intuition. He tells her that if she ever defies a direct order again, she will be removed from the truck permanently. Their personal engagement provides no shield against professional failure. Two workers dangle from a church roof, held by a single fraying rope. One man's grip is failing. Lieutenant Severide ascends the aerial ladder and moves onto the steep shingles. The primary anchor is pulling loose under the combined weight. Severide reaches the men and hooks Ty into his own harness. The damaged rope begins to snap, strand by strand. Severide orders Ty to reach into his right leg pocket and pull out a rescue knife. Ty hesitates, paralyzed by the height. Severide barks the command again, forcing the man to act. Ty retrieves the blade. Severide braces his body. He tells Ty to cut the line. The rope snaps as the blade passes through it. Gravity takes over. The men slide down the roof at high speed. Severide uses the friction of the shingles to maintain control. They shoot off the edge of the roof into open air. The secondary safety line jerks tight, stopping their fall feet above the pavement. The ground crew lowers them immediately. Medics move in to take the injured. Severide unclips his harness and walks toward the squad truck. He drops onto the step, breathing hard. His muscles lock up from the exertion. He watches the ambulance pull away. The job is done. Firefighters enter the factory to find Garrett's arm crushed deep within a heavy-duty gear assembly. Blood pools beneath the industrial rollers. The limb is wedged between rotating steel teeth, facing a high risk of immediate amputation and massive hemorrhage. Lieutenant Casey arrives and assesses the structural integrity of the machine. He rejects standard cutting procedures that might further damage the trapped tissue. He orders a precise, non-surgical disassembly of the machine itself. The squad moves in with industrial tools. They deploy power drills to back out the primary mounting bolts. A bone saw is used to clear secondary metal obstructions. Working in a gap only inches wide, the team utilizes a 1/4-inch hex key to unfasten the specific screws holding the outer casing. The sound of high-torque motors fills the warehouse. Garrett's vitals fluctuate as the pressure on his bone and muscle shifts. Casey realizes the arm cannot be freed on site without triggering a lethal bleed. He makes the tactical decision to transport the victim and the machine as one unit. The firefighters work to separate the entire gear segment from the main frame. They unbolt the heavy steel housing completely. The team lifts Garrett onto a stretcher, his arm still clamped inside the massive gear components. They secure the heavy metal parts to the gurney to prevent further trauma. They rush the victim into the ambulance. At the hospital, the surgical team takes over, utilizing the firefighters' mechanical breakdown to finish the extraction. By dismantling the steel instead of cutting the flesh, they preserve the only chance to save the limb. Herman stands in a garage packed with crates of energy water. He has invested over $1,000 into a business model that produces 0 sales. The stock is piling up and the debt is growing. He realizes the multi-level marketing opportunity is a pyramid scheme. The contract states the products are non-refundable. He is trapped. Mouch, a fellow firefighter with a deep knowledge of legal technicalities, examines the paperwork. He identifies the specific clauses used to exploit Herman. Mouch picks up the phone and dials the company's headquarters. He identifies himself as an attorney. He cites Landers versus Tollcroft, a 1985 case that established the illegality of this specific pyramid structure. Mouch informs the representative that non-refundable is a term used by lawyers to intimidate people, but it carries no weight in this context. Mouch escalates the pressure. He threatens to initiate small claims proceedings and file reports with the Better Business Bureau. He states that he will drain the company's accounts through legal fees and public exposure. He does not negotiate, he dictates terms. The company representative attempts to resist, but Mouch remains unmoved. He demands a full refund, processed immediately. The company folds, they agree to return the money. Mouch hangs up and tells Herman to expect the refund overnight. The financial threat is neutralized. Herman watches as his debt vanishes through a single, calculated application of the law. The crates in the garage are no longer a liability. The scam is over. Firefighters enter the bowling alley and move immediately toward Lane 9. A worker named Jerry is trapped inside the automatic pin setter, his arm crushed within the heavy mechanical assembly. Blood drips from the machine, pooling on the polished wood of the lane. Severide orders a K-12 circular saw and bolt cutters to the scene. The rescue team navigates into the dark, cramped maintenance area behind the machinery, where the ceiling is low and the space is narrow. Jerry's condition deteriorates as he slips into hypovolemic shock. The paramedic monitors his vitals and reports the loss of a radial pulse. The mechanical pressure has completely blocked blood flow to the limb. risking permanent necrosis. Severide analyzes the gear structure and identifies a specific drive shaft that maintains the lever's crushing tension. He calls for a reciprocating saw to perform a precision cut in the tight gap. The team works within the oily interior of the machine, bracing the metal frame to prevent a secondary collapse that would further mangle the victim. The saw blade bites into the hardened steel shaft, throwing sparks against the metal casing. As the steel finally parts, the tension in the lever snaps. The machinery shifts, releasing the grip on the mangled arm. Firefighters lift Jerry from the gears and transition him onto a waiting gurney. They stabilize the limb with heavy bandages and rush him through the silent crowd toward the ambulance. The rescue is complete, leaving only blood and severed steel behind on lane 9.